we're going to invite up Abhishek, product architect at Auth0, an Okta company. Abhishek's bio says he has spent a decade across Auth0 and Okta, and it says he literally co-wrote the book on modern identity management. One of them. All right, the book on modern identity management. Here we go. So Abhishek, with that.
Thanks. Whew. Hi. I should know this stage, but every time I'm here, it's like super crazy to see so many people, right? No pressure on the demos, but I'm going to quickly switch to slideshow and, not spoil the slides. The last time I was at one of Skyfire's event, there were 8 speakers, 8 demos, and the word trust came up so many times. This was 6 months ago. And that's something I took away as like a line item for me to work on. I'm in product. Why do people not trust agents? Well, trust is very complex. So let's start with, on the technical side, what we know. We know that from 2022 to now, agents have become more capable. We've gone from asking them questions to expecting them to do things. I have not read a single line of code in the past 3 years. Allegedly, someone said that. But behind the scenes, what's happening is these systems are becoming more capable. And as they're becoming more capable, they're becoming more and more autonomous. We started with chat. It was a back and forth. Then came Cowork, and you can tell it to summarize past 30 days of expenses and file it in Workday. And it will do that. And now you can text OpenClaw and say, hey, do my expense reports. It will go to your mailbox, figure out which mail provider you use, what expenses, and do the whole thing end to end. And this is just past 1 year of progress. And when something like that happens, in this room full of amazingly high-tech, high-adjacency, high-security people, why haven't we seen adoption? Why are we still not making trips online, even though every single demo we have seen from all the vendors is a flight booking? So what gives? Well, capability doesn't translate to trust. There's a lot of difference between what the software can do and people trusting it to do that. And trust is earned, not scaled. So on the first demo, and I'm going to invite Ankit to do the second half of it, but I'm going to show you what it looks like to do things with agents today. So if I switch to Claude, and if I give it this nice little idea to organize a 20 people event, I am in DevRel, I want to collect swag for them. This Claude instance is hitting an actual store right now. So this is my replica, but we have shop.okta.com. And so I cloned the entire store, right? This has a lot of swag, and it needs to figure out what people are going to attend. It's going to go through the entire demo, and it's going to figure out what products it should buy. And the last time I did this demo 6 months ago, MCP UI didn't exist. You couldn't add a add to cart button. So it's going to go through this for like about half a minute more. How's everyone's day been? The best part about AI demos is they take a while sometimes. And what happens as the next step of this? I can shorten its pain by just trying to click add. If I do that, it's going to tell me to sign in. And when I do that, I'm now going to go on a journey. Wait, which email did I use? I have a demo account for this. I think it's the password. Thank God, Cloudflare, for not giving me a CAPTCHA. And I've forgotten my account. Right? This is a normal experience. And everyone who's been in marketing here, this is cart abandonment. The person's never coming back. Because if I go to check my email, good luck. And so I've thought a lot about this, and I feel like there's a different way to look at it. We never heard these complaints until agents came out. Why? Because before, if I were a marketing person and I was creating this swag collection, I'd spend hours going to the store, picking items, doing things, and there'd be like 5-10 minutes of login and payments, right? So 3 hours versus 30 seconds. Now I wrote a prompt in 10 seconds, it did its thing, and I have longer time spent on just authenticating. So in other words, this is painful. This is very painful because the only thing I'm going to remember is I was signing in for the whole duration of this process. And that's very high friction. Pain is terrible for conversions. I couldn't find who said it, but allegedly this was said thousands of years ago. And so I'm going to invite Ankit, who's going to run through the way faster demo of how this can work with Skyfire.
All right. So yeah, really excited to share this with you. We have done a lot of good work with Okta, Auth0, and with Abhishek. And Abhishek will also explain what's happening behind the covers. But what I've got here is an open source chat client, right? Very similar to, well, kind of similar to Claude. I can use a Claude model. And I've got the website where I'm logged in, right? And on my chat client, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect Skyfire. So it has my identity. Oops. All right. Let's try that again. Yep. And I'm going to connect the merchant's MCP server as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to buy a few gifts for an event I'm hosting. Give me a few options. And what this is going to do is it's going to reach out to the merchant's MCP server. It's going to come back with a bunch of options. And these are all open APIs. So I haven't authenticated yet. I can freely search and browse, no big deal. Comes back with a bunch of options. I don't want to be too cheap, but I am kind of cheap. So I'll go with the $290. Oh, no. That's the wrong one. And I'm going to say, let's buy these. And now what's going to happen is I want to buy something. Okay, so the merchant needs to know who I am. And so now behind the covers, the MCP server is like, hey, you don't have an access token. And the MCP client is like, okay, then I need to get an access token. And so it's going to go to the authorization server. It's following the standard OAuth flow. It's going to go to the authorization server, download the metadata file. And the metadata file says, hey, you can do the authorization code flow, but you've probably forgotten your password. Or you can use a KYA token to log in if you already have one, right? And I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to use my KYA token. And I said yes. It generates a KYA token, gives it to the authorization server. The authorization server comes back with an access token. The client goes to the MCP server, adds the item to checkout. And now it says, hey, I've added it to checkout. Do you want to pay? And I'm going to say, confirmed. Let's do it, right? And this is where the extensions to MCP come in, right? And I forgot to mention on the right side, but you see the cart being added to, and it was just completed. And now in this case, what happened here, right? So we're working on extensions to MCP where the LLM doesn't see the payment credential. So everything is handled by the MCP client. And what happens is that the MCP server comes back with a challenge that I need a pay token. The MCP client recognizes it, creates a pay token, and then pays the MCP server, comes back with a confirmation. That's what the LLM sees, that it's paid, it's done, we're in good shape. All right, so with that, I will hand back to Abhishek.
And so give a big round of applause to Ankit, Amar, and the team that actually built this entire demo. Because here's the thing. I wrote the store. Well, mostly Codex. But these were two different apps. And these were written by two completely separate teams on Slack. And that's the power of open standards. If you write for the spec, you don't have to have it in a single repository. And we got it working in about like 4 or 5 hours of Zoom calls. So please give a huge round of applause for the team. And so we had the exact same flow. We had higher or equivalent security. We had way less friction, which equates into more trust. And I'm not going to go into the full diagrams. I had these slides planned out of like a nice build out, but Ankit has already gone through it. We'll be here later and we can tap more into details of it. The key takeaway here is Skyfire had an idea for who this agent is and who it belongs to. And Auth0 inherited that identity, federated the agent in, and was able to validate what that person can do. And that's the bridge I'm talking about. We need to invent new and simpler ways for consumers to build easier access to more modern ways of doing things. And this was supposed to be the payment transactional part. I'm being shown a clock, so I'm going to go through it. But effectively, agent tries to check out. The MCP server throws a challenge. We generate a pay token, which is one time, not the identity token that could be used for multiple calls. And then we make the payment. Thank you so much.